Good morning, everyone. Let's get started this morning by singing together. I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do. We'll sing together number 188. We're going to do it first in unison, one time through, and then we'll sing it through twice as a two-part round. This side is part one. Robert will lead that section. This side, yes. And this side is part two. I'll help you get through that twice through in the round part. Let's sing together.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, let again come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Of the caravan of despair, come, yet again come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Come, caravan of despair, come, yet again come. Come, yet again come.
You may be seated. It's much harder to sing around with a mask on, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so welcome everyone. We're glad that you are here. I'm the Reverend Doug Wadkins. I'm the interim minister here, and we'd like to offer a very warm welcome, whether you are joining us on live stream or you are here in our sanctuary this morning. We especially offer a welcome to our visitors. We hope that we will go the extra mile to make you feel very welcome here. If you are new here, we hope you'll take a moment to visit our Visitors Corner. You can do so online by going to our homepage and clicking on the banner that says Welcome Visitors. That will take you to a special page that gives you a lot of information about the congregation. You can also sign our virtual guest book there, and we will then send you our contact, which is our weekly newsletter. That'll tell you more about the events here and how to get more involved. You can do something very similar to that if you are here on campus. If you join us outside in the coffee hour and go to the Welcome Corner, they can get you also signed up on our guest book and get you that information. We hope that you'll take a moment to do that. We invite you all to be part of our coffee hour today, and in particular, be aware, look for folks that have a red border on their name tag. That means they're brand new here. Let's make a special effort to say hello and help them feel welcome. So, an announcement, the Social Justice Committee is partnering with the All Faiths Food Bank to pack nutritious food for school children to take home when they're out of school and on weekends. Food insecurity is one of the most powerful issues in our community. About 50% of students in Sarasota County are eligible for free lunches. So our UU Pack is on the third Tuesday of each month at the All Faith Food Bank warehouse. And this month we are a few volunteers short, and we're doing this Tuesday at 1 p.m. This is a wonderful and fun opportunity to meet people in the congregation and really make a significant contribution to your community. If you are interested, we make it very easy for you. Just stop by the social justice table out in the main courtyard during coffee hour, and they can get you some information and get you signed up. So now we move more into our worship. We are very pleased to have Fred Sarosky, member of the congregation, here as our guest musician. May our prelude bring us into a time together.
Let's play that thing.
hear more from Fred soon. So we are now lighting our chalice, and we invite you, if you are watching us at home, to take out a candle, or if you happen to have a chalice at home, to join us. The words are taken from Scott Taylor, and Kenny will be sparking our flame. As we celebrate life's beauty, may we never forget that we are part of it. It is woven around us, through us, between us. We are here to notice those elegant strands, the way they call to us, the way they hold us, the way they connect us. May our time together today enable that beauty to shine. We light this chalice in the spirit of the first principle, as we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And now we'll have a time for all ages with Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. Sometimes you're the caterpillar. You know, I really love this story by Jessica Lee. She's an African-American comedian, a social justice activist, a TV and YouTube personality, an actress, and an author of the book, well, that escalated quickly, Memoirs and Mistakes of an Accidental Activist. This story that she wrote, she made a video of, but the video was so fast that not even my ears could catch it all. So I'm going to give you a slower version today. And in light of the fact of what has happened recently in Buffalo, the message of this story needs to be heard by everyone. So our story starts in a garden. There's a caterpillar and a snail, and they're basically best friends. They hang out together 24/7. They do dinner together. They have movie nights. They create crafts together, and they do cosplay. And those for you who may be older, cosplay is dressing up in costumes and acting out. You know, we used to call them costume parties, but it's cosplay today. On top of everything else that caterpillars and snails do, like, you know, I don't know, eat leaves or something, who knows. So anyway, one day they were on their way to a party right outside the garden, and they had to go under the fence to get there. Well, of course, the caterpillar just, you know, he goes right under, and the snail is stuck. Her shell is too big, and there's just no way for her to get under the wire. So the snail calls out to her friend, "Hey, I can't get through. Maybe you could, like, I don't know, lift the wire or something, maybe, or build a bridge, or, you know, something." And the caterpillar just gets, "Dude, just go under." But she can't. She tries, and all the while the caterpillar is yelling at her, "Just go under, go under. We're going to be late for the party, and my cute ladybug date is waiting on me," he says. Well, the snail is getting very frustrated. I mean, it's not like she doesn't want to go to the party, but for some reason, Caterpillar just doesn't seem to get it. So she tells her friend, "Yeah, well, it's not just so easy for me to go under the wire. You know, I just can't crawl under the fence like you can. So I would really appreciate it if you would give me a little help here, like maybe go a different way, or," oh, that sets the caterpillar off. What the heck? Just because I can crawl under stuff doesn't mean I have it easy. Do you even know what it's like to have 16 feet? You don't, because it's a terrible nightmare to find shoes. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," says the snail. "I'm not saying you have it easy. I'm just saying I can't go under the fence like you can because of my shell. That's it. I have a shell and you don't. There's some stuff that's easier for you that's harder for me, like, I don't know anything about buying shoes because, well, I have no feet." And the caterpillar starts to think about it for a second, and he realizes the snail is right. He's never had to think about shells or slimy trails, or, you know, that's a privilege snail has never had, because she's always had to think about those things. That's part of being a snail. And isn't it kind of like that for everyone? I mean, We all have our struggles and challenges, and some of them are small, and some of them are huge and really unfair and beyond our control. And a lot of the time, it can be really hard to see what the other person deals with because you haven't been in their shoes or shell. So maybe you're gay, or you're transgender, or have a disability or another religion. Or, of course, the obvious one, that you're a member of a different race. I don't know what it's like to be you, and you don't know what it's like to be me. So it's really important to stop, and try to see it from the other side so that we can overcome those obstacles together. It's like, sometimes you're the snail and sometimes you're the caterpillar. Oh yeah, back to our story. So the snail and the caterpillar figured out that if they go across to the other side of the garden, there's a break in the fence, and they go through the fence together. And although it's going to take them a little bit longer to get to the party, they make the trip together. And that's what made it so great. So they got to the party, and Caterpillar met up with his date, as you can see. Snail taught everyone how to do the wobble, and the party was everything. The end. So, for everyone to feel like they belong, each of us needs to stop and try to see life from the other person's view. That way, we can overcome obstacles for living in harmony together. Let us now rise as we're able to sing our hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. And at the end of the song, the younger UUs can join me in the back as we go create spirals as a symbol of belonging.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined. Body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
You may be seated. As we move further into the service, we invite you to a time of centering. We will do that in three ways this morning. We will begin with centering in the Word, and then invite you to a few moments of quiet together, and then we will sing together Spirit of Life. remaining seated. The centering and word is taken from the writing of Bishop Ken Untener, A Future Not Our Own. Nothing we do is complete, which is another way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. This is what we are about. We plant seeds that one day will grow. We water the seeds already planted, knowing they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces effects far beyond our capabilities. We are workers, not master builders, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. Here ends the centering and word. Will you join me for a few moments in quiet together?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Your roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our reading is taken from the writing of Alex Capitan and Reverend Michael Slack. They write, "Beloved community is when we say we, and we mean everyone. Beloved community is not homogeneous. It can't be. When commonality is presumed, when we make assumptions about who's present and whether people are like us or not, we're not practicing beloved community. Because beloved community doesn't make those assumptions. It doesn't presume commonality. Another thing that beloved community is not, is it is not like-minded. Because we are not called to be like-minded in spiritual community. We are called to be like-hearted. And finally, it is certainly not devoid of conflict. And this one is really hard. Beloved community is not easy. There's nothing easy about practicing beloved community. When we avoid conflict in order to get along, we're not practicing beloved community because it exists when we trust each other. We have the relationships. We are strong enough in those relationships to actually disagree with each other, to be in conflict, even to risk hurting each other. And yet we can stay in relationship through these disagreements and conflict. and potential hurt. That is what it means to practice beloved community. Here ends our reading, and now our interlude to help us reflect before the sermon. Thank you, Fred and Don. Forest Church devised this scenario and shared it with his congregation one Sunday. Imagine yourself at a dinner party, the only person, it turns out, that goes to church. And for whatever reason, when telling this bit of information, it inadvertently leaks out, and you pique the interest of your companions, all of whom have graduated from organized religion years ago. They want to know why. They want to know more. And all of a sudden, the dinner party feels jeopardized, and you are defensive rather than evangelical, and you start pushing spin control buttons quickly. Well, okay, it's not exactly a church. So you see, I'm Unitarian Universalist. And so one of the women says, oh, you know, I have always wondered about Unitarian Universalism. What do you actually believe? And you sputter, oh, actually nothing. Okay, well, not really nothing, like anything. You then rush to assure them that you don't believe that Jesus was born of a virgin or resurrected on the third day. You almost never read the Bible, and you certainly agree that religion is the most dangerous force in the world, especially today. To which the woman who's listening to you says, well, those are the reasons I don't attend church. So in the early 2000s, we realized that we didn't always do such a great job when people asked us what Unitarian Universalism was about. And so we began to devise our elevator speeches, we would call them. The idea, and I've talked about this before, is that you get on an elevator, and usually this would happen when you're at some conference for your congregation, and you have on your name tag and it says Unitarian Universalist. The elevator door closes, someone looks at your name tag and says, what is a Unitarian Universalist? And you have the time between there and the third floor to try to quickly explain to them what it's all about. Well, it's an interesting exercise for a lot of reasons. Every time I've done it, what I say is different because it feels like in that moment, what especially comes to the foreground is distinctive based on what I've been through in the last weeks. But it's also important because it does ask us to think deeply about why we belong to this place or to a congregation at all. And that there are so many pathways that bring people into this place. And we want to be thoughtful about how we talk about it because it may offer for people exactly what they need so deeply. It was Memorial Day of 1995, and the actor Christopher Reeve recounted that his horse simply put on the brakes, and the two of them were prepared to take the third fence on a cross-country jump event in Culpeper, Virginia. Reeve doesn't even remember what actually happened next, but witnesses saw the rider go over the horse's back and land on his head, his hands still tangled in the bridle and unable to break the impact. When he regained consciousness, Reeve was in the intensive care unit of the University of Virginia Hospital and learned the horrible news that he had broken his neck, severing his spinal cord at the second cervical vertebrae, just where the neck attaches to the shoulders. He was told that the damage was irreparable, that the nervous system wouldn't regenerate and he'd never be able, the nervous tissue would not regenerate, and he'd never be able to regain movement or sensation in his arms and legs or torso. Geez, I don't know why I can't say that. And also, he wouldn't be able to breathe without the help of a respirator. He recalls, at that moment, I began to understand the gravity of the situation. My immediate reaction was that a life like that was unacceptable. Even though I knew absolutely nothing about living as a vent-dependent quadriplegic, I realized that there was no cure for spinal cord injuries like mine, and that I would be forever dependent on others for the basic necessities of my daily existence. And my role as husband and father of 3 children would be severely compromised because paralysis had suddenly transformed me into a 42-year-old infant. And I thought it would be selfish and unfair to remain alive. It took a couple of weeks before Reeve's medical condition was even stabilized enough for them to undertake the delicate procedure of fully reattaching his head to the rest of his body. And the odds of him surviving that operation were about half and half. But first, the patient had decided that he wanted to give it a shot. That was the first step. And his wife, Dana, was in the room, and he remembers, I mouthed my first lucid words to her. Maybe we should just let me go, I said to her quietly. And she looked back at me through tears and told me, I am only going to say this once. I will support you, whatever you want to do, because this is your life. your decision. But I want you to know that I will be with you for the long haul, no matter what. And she added the words that to him made all the difference. You're still you, and I love you. So Reeve began to rethink everything. My identity and self-esteem had been based on the physical world, he said. I cherished health and athletics and travel and adventure. And at first I couldn't even imagine living without these things. In an instant, paralysis had created an indescribable void. Family, friends, and well-wishers from around the world assured me that the prayers and my faith in God would comfort me. I tried to pray, but I didn't really feel any better, nor did I make any kind of connection with God. I wondered what was wrong with me. But gradually, he wrote, I began to believe that spirituality is found in the ways we live our daily lives. It means spending time thinking about others. It's not so hard to imagine that there is some kind of higher power. We don't have to know what form it takes or exactly where or how it exists. Just honor it and try to live by it is enough. And because we are all humans, he reflected, we often fail, but at least we know that we do not deserve to be punished. And that knowledge makes us safe and willing to try again and again. He realized as these thoughts unfolded in the process of learning to live a new life that he was becoming a Unitarian Universalist. In his late 40s, faith and organized religion unexpectedly converged, and he found himself with his wife and kids attending services regularly in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, bringing along whatever nurse happened to be on duty. He remembers that Sue Citarella, who was a lifelong Catholic, came with them a number of times and found the atmosphere of welcome and non-judgmental attitude very rewarding. In the words of their minister, we see our church as the place where people can truly be themselves, where honest doubt is not taken for heresy, where the beliefs of the past and the present become the inspiration for future growth and discovery. That congregation changed his life and continued to do so until the day he died. In his book, Nothing is Impossible, he wrote, "This is the evening of May 27, 2003, the 8th anniversary of the accident, and that I call it the accident as opposed to the tragedy or the tragic mistake is perhaps an indication that I still don't blame myself or the horse or a conspiracy of the fates for what happened. Given all the inexplicable acts of violence, injustice, and cruelty, mixed with the unexpected small miracles of kindness and happiness that we see in the world every day, I remain convinced that life is chaos, but within that, our power is always to be able for ourselves to establish order and meaning." So the thing is, there are so many ways in our lives that we seek to belong. And I believe that one way or another, all of us actually seek to do that, and often in many ways. We do it with families of all type in our lives. We often do it through our jobs and that sense of identity. We do it through such roles as being a parent or a friend. Sometimes we do it even just in the sense of really belonging deeply to ourselves. As Azriel Rochelle wrote, the only true belonging is the courage to stand alone and belong to ourselves. Ultimately, whatever is true, there is a way in which we are asked to think about how we belong to the larger sense of humanity. And that often calls us to think about why we are here on this planet in the first place. And in that way, and very deeply, That sense of belonging helps us know not only who we are, but how we are deeply connected with each other. It often calls us out of that very much consumeristic and individualistic mindset that has kept us in this deeply divided place in our nation and our world. Belonging asks us to realize that there's something deeper and older and more connected that is true for each of us and calls us together, even if at times we don't feel it. And we probably have experienced in those moments when we feel especially alienated from the world, how much harder our lives are. As Brené Brown wrote, in the absence of belonging, there is always great suffering. Now, in this time after the pandemic, when so many people are rethinking their lives, it is possible that more people will eventually find themselves seeking to belong in religious community. They will look for a community perhaps that fits for them to help them rethink how they belong to something larger than themselves or something deeper within themselves. And we, in many ways, can help them by also making that journey in our own hearts and minds, reminding ourselves why this place, or wherever your home congregation, or wherever it is that you understand yourself most deeply, why it is that it helps you feel you belong. But for Unitarian Universalists, I believe that there are certain things about the belonging that we're called to hear that are especially, I would say, beautiful. Beautiful because they ask us to reflect more deeply and more powerfully. I believe that as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to the honesty and integrity as a powerful part of our belonging. Here, we are asked to be really honest about what we believe, not what we think we should believe or what the dogma of a congregation tells you, but to start with what is actually true for you and have integrity in how you live out that truth, that honest truth. And the thing about the word integrity is that it suggests that there is always some form of integration that happens. It isn't just about you living in isolation, but real integrity asks you to think about how it is that you live in this world, on this planet, with each other, and what the impact of your life is making on those around you. I believe that as Unitarian Universalists, we have the beauty of being called to both reason and passion. Throughout our tradition, our history, for hundreds and hundreds of years, we have, yes, felt that we were given the power of reason for us to be able to understand more deeply, to use our minds to find the wisdom, to know how it is that we should live, what is true, especially when things get overwhelming and confusing. But it was never just about reason. Because the thing is, we also realized that we needed passion. We needed something that called us to risk when true reason would always say, well, what can you guarantee that you will gain by risking to be courageous? Our passion over and over again helped us to step forward and make differences in people's lives, even when we knew just how risky it was. We are called to both. Most of all, I believe that we are called to a deeper sense of love in this tradition. Our Universalist forebears were absolutely certain that the nature of reality was grounded in love. When other religions were saying that the reason that you should be good is because you are afraid of punishment, Universalists said the reason to be good is because we have been given the gift of love and our life. And from that place of deep gratitude, we are called to pay it forward, that love, again and again. And so many of our forebears did that in a variety of ways. Clara Barton, as she nursed in times of war. Or James Reeb, who was willing to put his values into action during the Civil Rights era to the point where his life was lost. Or May Sarton, who believed in the power of words and poetry. Or Faye Waddleston, who for decades worked with Planned Parenthood to make sure that women had the right to control what happens to their own bodies. So what is beautiful in this congregation for you? Why is it that you would give a measure of your life and affection to this place? And what will it give back to you? Reeve said, as he came towards the end of his life, thinking about the memorial service that he would have at the Unitarian Church, I've come to realize that our capabilities go way beyond our understanding. And if we trust in that and move forward past the clutter and noise inside us that says I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I don't feel like it, I don't want to, if we think of that as like static on the radio and clear the channel and find the good reception, we will always be amazed at what we can do. At the end of the scenario that Forrest Church gave, he gave his own version of how he and his best self would have answered it. When the woman asked, what is it that Unitarian Universalists actually believe? He said, well, many of the same things that our nation's founders did. Jefferson and Adams were both Unitarians, and they believed in freedom and democratic process, and so do we. And our religious principle, e pluribus unum, just like the nation, out of many, one. We believe there is a unity of the light, one mystery that calls us in whatever way to look at the world as something that calls us together, not separate. And we seek to model in our church the way we want to live in the world, with mutual respect, with freedom to make our own decisions, deeds, not creeds, liberty and justice for everyone, and finally, love as our highest law. Why don't you come with me this Sunday and see what you think? I think you'd love it. What is it that you believe is beautiful about what gives you life? And how might that be a saving moment for other people around you? May you think on that as we move into our offertory. The offertory reminds us that we each have those deeper gifts of love in our lives. And we are called in some way to use them to make the world a better place. As we think about those gifts, may the offering invite us to be generous with each other and with the world. The offering will now be received and given in that way. Jan Richardson wrote this: "You hardly knew how hungry you were to be gathered in, to receive the welcome that invited you to enter entirely. Tentative steps became settling in, and you began to breathe again, and you learned to sing. But the deal with this blessing is that it will not leave you alone, will not let you linger. This blessing will ask you to leave, not because it is tired of you, not because it desires for you anything other than to become the sanctuary that you have found." I invite us to rise in the ways that we do and sing our closing hymn together. "Break Not the Circle," number 323.
The circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of nerdom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of wrong or guilt, but will that human bonds remain unbroken. Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
And now, as you prepare to leave this place, may you take with you the beauty of that vision of a large, very inclusive circle, and your part in it in the way that you welcome others as well. May that gather us again in this place for our time together. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of the larger wisdom, not the power of that enabling and large circle, not the warmth of human community. These remain until we gather in this place again. Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope that you will join us outside for the coffee hour. Next weekend, we will have a new member recognition, and so if you are thinking about joining the congregation, I hope before you leave today, you'll think about signing the book so we can welcome you next weekend. Have a great week. Thanks for being here today.